Well, those three horse and buggies that pulled into Poor Bob's Dairy, they weren't the only ones there that were horse and buggies. There was a rail, actually, there, a hitching rail, a couple posts with a rail across it that they could tie the reins to and leave the horses there. And there were probably about three more, maybe four, almost as many as there were cars. This was a popular place. It was Sunday afternoon, and anyway, so they didn't cause any particular stir when they pulled up. What caused the stir, though, was when Heidi got out of the buggy. She she could take your breath away because she was still in her wedding dress in a way, but nothing like what you would imagine if you're thinking a wedding gown, long and velvety, or like, it wasn't like that at all. Heidi was having this reaction, in a sense, as I've told you, about their wealth. She could have had $1,000 wedding gown if she wanted to, and the flowers cost hundreds of dollars and all that. She was, and it was part of the state of the time, because this great change that was kind of going on. I think I mentioned maybe The Embarrassment of Riches. She'd studied that book, and well, anyway, she looked beautiful. I mean, her wedding dress was simple, and it was a dress that actually she would go on to wear often, probably Sundays going to church maybe. And now what it was a like a Swiss dress, peasant's dress, but really nice, like a Swiss peasant would go to a wedding in a dress like that. And I think the name of it is a Lerndl or something like that, Lardl or something like that, or Dirndl. There's a name for that kind of a dress. Laces up in the front. It's a bodice. I think you call that a bodice. I don't know. An apron. And the apron was a different color. The rest of it was white. It had short sleeves, and the blouse was white. The bodice was, I think it was tan. I don't remember. And then it was a dress, and the hem, there was some color around the hem, tan probably to match the bodice, and it had this apron. Well, and her hair, she hadn't worn a floral crown or a tiara or anything like that. Remember, her wedding was on Sunday morning as part of the church service at the Unitarian Church in Columbus, Ohio. I think that's where it was. And it was just part of the service. She was making a gesture, and in her mind wanting to return to a simplicity. That's part of her character. I've talked about it before. But anyway, the result was she was gorgeous. She'd taken the apron off, and she might have had it. But now she was just in a beautiful peasant's dress, knee-length dress. You know, of course, the Mennonite women, they wore dresses. They would never go anywhere in pants or jeans or anything like that. They wore dresses, but they wore dresses that are longer. But boy, they and the men as well, they looked at her, and she didn't pay any attention. She had her hair done. Remember, I think I told you she had these thick braids, curly hair, that you could wrestle into braids. Well, she had a friend, her best friend actually, named Clara. Clara could do hair. She was a hairdresser. Now Clara also was confined to a wheelchair. And Clara was not rich like Peter and Heidi were, but she was Heidi's best friend. And Clara had done a marvelous job of wrestling that from her wheelchair, wrestling that hair into a French braid. And you know, she just looked stunning. But she wasn't paying attention to that. She was just having such a good time. So she bounced got down out of the buggy, and then said ice cream cones for everybody, vanilla. That's what you're getting. She went in with Peter, and before too long, she came out with well, let's see, there was 3 drivers, and the 2 parents on each side. That's 4, and then 6, 9. There are 9 ice cream cones, but she also had 3 cones with no ice cream in it, sugar cones, and carrying all this and brought them out, and so they were having them, and enjoying that and not talking too much, but you know, they were a little curious. What were these empty cones for? And so Heidi asked Mervyn. Mervyn is his name. It's not Irvin. I was calling him Irvin. His name is Mervyn. Mervyn Zimmerman, and he said, what are the, or she asked Mervyn, can I give one of each of these to your horses? I know you wouldn't want them to eat ice cream. That'd be awful. But I think they'd really like these sugar cones. And Mervyn said, well, sure. So she went along and held her hand out flat like she knew. See, she'd learned a lot when she was at Berea, and that's what she wanted. She was not a complete stranger around animals, and she knew enough not to have her fingers get bit. You know, she laid the cone on her hand to each one, and you know, of course, they enjoyed it. Now, when she got to Mervyn's horse, Mervyn said, you know, my horse is special. I guess everybody thinks their horse is special, but Kelly is a very special horse. She's the smartest horse I have ever known in my 82 years. He was an old man, but healthy as could be. And he said, and she's a Morgan, and she's stronger than most of these carriage horses. And if we've even used her to pull a little garden plow, if you can imagine that, a carriage horse, she could do that. But the thing is, she's smart, and she's gonna remember that you gave her that ice cream cone. She's not gonna forget you. I know that. And so I didn't know much to say about that. But anyway, that deed was done. There was a watering trough there that poor Boz dairy kept, just because that's how often horses and buggies came by there, and they made sure the horses weren't going to be thirsty. And then, while they'd been in there, you see, Mervyn had gone around and he'd explained to the other buggy passengers and drivers and stuff that this was a wedding. This was a couple. They'd just been married that morning, and it was a pretty special event. You know. So anyway, when they got it back in their buggies, all 3 of these drivers took and put a white flag up on the pole that they have sometimes for safety's sake. And they put a white flag up on the pole, and they started off, and all the other buggies did the same thing. And now it was a regular parade. It was about 6 or 7 buggies, and now it wasn't going nice and slow and leisurely. They were going clip clop down the Watercress Creek Road in the direction of Earth's Drink. Now, eventually, the other buggy drivers, they peeled off, and they went, or some of them turned around and headed off on their other way. But that was their way of sharing the joy. Bye for now.